Today on The Social. As the Hockey Canada sexual assault trial concludes, we examine the judge's reasonings. And have you mastered the claw grip? We test the viral trend that women are calling their secret superpower. Then, Rococo revival, why the 18th century trend is flourishing on social media, and everything you need to party like a duchess in 2025. Plus, ready, set, go! Marathon runner Ben Kaplan is here with tips to get beginners to the star line for the summer of run. It all starts now on The Social.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Hello and welcome to The Social. Yes. I love the love and the energy. All right, joining us today is writer and scholar Riley Yesno.
Thanks
Good
for having
to have
me.
you here. All right, so we have, of course, some heavy stuff to get to. We're still waiting on the judge to reach the final verdict in the sexual assault trial of the World Junior Hockey players, and we're going to have that later on in the show. Yes, I know we're going to have to address that, but first, it's time to rethink how we say goodbye to our loved ones. Because according to The Guardian, direct cremations are increasingly popular. That's where no mourners are present and relatives and friends organize their own ceremonies. By opting out of the fuss in traditional funerals, are we disrespecting our loved ones, or is it the positive thing? You guys like it. All right, so Riley, I'm going to throw that hot potato to you, my friend.
Listen, I'm with the crowd. I think that everybody is also rethinking ceremonies in our life just generally differently. Like, you're seeing a bunch of weddings that are different. And I think that there are people who are seeing, okay, it's supposed to be one of these big milestone moments in my life. I want it to reflect me. I want it to reflect the people. Never mind tradition. And I'm all for that, I think. Like, that's something that can be really lovely. My sister, actually, she just went to a funeral half recently for a friend's grandmother. She insisted, this woman, that I had an open bar.
Wow. An open bar. Okay.
Open bar.
Okay.
That there was karaoke and everybody had to sing at her karaoke if they were going to be there.
I love this.
I kind of do love that.
And she said it was like the most celebratory thing. And of course, like, they sang some sad songs and they remembered her, and it was still like there was elements of grief and mourning, but that it was just like this beautiful reflection of what was an amazing woman, you know? And I'm like, that sounds great.
Isn't that a beautiful reflection just of a life, or of all our lives too? Like
I think so.
The super emotional with the super joyful. That's really touching.
I mean, I love that, and it sounds like that's exactly what that person wanted. But what if the thing that the person wants is like not uplifting? Like, for me, I'll just be honest, like my mother is a very heavy into the Catholic Church, and I was raised in the Catholic Church. She really loves that experience and has had a lot of great experiences. I did not have as many great experiences, neither did my sister. And then there's been this ongoing reckoning. I don't feel a lot of comfort in Catholicism. I feel I'm very spiritual and I have a lot of spiritual associations, but that doesn't bring me a lot of comfort. I know my mom, when she passes, will want to have like a mass, a full mass and everything like that. And that we'll do that, right? But if I'm being honest, like, we're the ones who are left behind. And I can't help but think, like, do we get some say in what would bring us joy? Because my mother is so many different things. She's funny, she loves nature, she's got like so much personality. And I'm trying to figure out a way that we'll be able to weave in that aspect. Because for me, the ones that are left behind also have to wrestle with their grief and their ways of processing.
Some people say funerals are for the living.
That's exactly it. I mean, you've just been through this. Jess.
Yeah, to a certain degree. My dad passed away, and he did not want a funeral. Yay!
Did you just yay?
I guess this story is in a way like, do you have to pay respect the person's wishes? So
Yes.
I am respecting his wishes by not having that funeral, and I'm in a way very grateful because he passed away in the ICU, and about 30 minutes after, there was a grief counselor who came in to talk with the family and said, hey, I hate to bring this up in this moment, but when you start making your arrangements, because even though you don't have a funeral, there's still a body you gotta, deal with. And there's practical things. And she said to us, be careful, this is a racket. The business of dying can be a racket. Make sure you call around, make sure you get quotes and so on. And thank God, Simon. Oh, Simon, I love you. None of us were able to do that. Yeah. He was able to make all of those quotes. He called and got for a simple cremation with, you need a lot of death certificates when you pass away, or the people living need a lot of, people are nodding, right? Everyone needs one of those death certificates. And so he called around and he got quotes for a simple cremation plus death certificates from $3,000 to $6,500.
Wow.
That range. And he ended up going with the first person he called, not just because it was the $3,000 one, but also because the guy on the phone said to him, hey, do me a favor, make sure you call around because this can be a racket.
I know.
Said it to us and we're like, that's so honest.
But do you feel like you've sort of, I know you were saying you are planning a celebration of life.
Yes, we're planning a celebration of life because Simon and I got my dad to admit about a year ago in my living room, he was like, he's, make sure, Jess, there's no funeral, you'll respect that, right? I was like, absolutely. He was an atheist. And then I said, but Dad, wouldn't you want the people who loved you? He was a teacher who influenced the lives of so many people and his family, and wouldn't you want them to raise a glass? He liked the brown liquor. Wouldn't you love that? Yeah. And he was like, yeah, okay, I like the sounds of that. Okay. So we're doing that. We're doing that.
Okay. Well, that looks... Listen, it's so challenging, and if you haven't gone through this, it's a lot to take in. But I'll say this much. Before my father passed away, he passed away last September, I had two friends who also died. One had a very traditional funeral, and the other one had a very non-traditional funeral. The non-traditional one was the first one that I went to of the two. And maybe because I was raised in the church, I went to Anglican service, and I also went to a Catholic service, I know and feel comfort in that ritual, and it was very bizarre for me to be in that space, to be mourning the loss of my friend. There was no casket, there was a very small picture of this person, and then we were also in a space that I had partied in before, which also felt very strange, and then we were sitting on the floor, everybody was everywhere, and it was kind of like an open mic where people just kind of going up and meandering and just chit-chatting about how they felt, and I was like, I left feeling I didn't get the closure that I needed, and then I went to, sadly my friend died a few months later, and I went to a very traditional funeral, and it was very long, but it was beautiful, and at the end of it, I had that feeling of it's very sad, but we all get to say our proper goodbyes. So I knew that when my dad died, because he went to church all the time, and I know the church that he went to, I knew that what his wishes were more important than anything else. Yeah. And I took control of the funeral because I'm the eldest, and that's what I do, because everybody does what I say. And I felt at the very end of it, it went on till 8 p.m. It started at 12 o'clock, went till 8 p.m. And what the greatest part was, I remember there was a part during the funeral when people were singing the hymns and there was a great feeling, and I was like, my dad would love this. My dad would be so happy. And that feeling, I'm telling you, I know some people want to do what they want to do, but what you want on that day is to be honoring what they want. And at the end of the day, when they were leaving, some of my dad's friends who he'd known since he was 3 were like, thank you so much for this. Yeah. This was the best day. Everybody left with smiles. So just keep that in mind when you're planning those things. It is about you, because you feel, but you have to remember it's not just your mom or your dad or whoever that family member is. There's a community that's connected who all want to say goodbye. So you want to do something that kind of makes everybody feel like they're getting that final home going or homecoming, however you want to say it. Yeah. So it's a challenging one. But we're starting off light here on the Social and Funeral Chit Chat. Time for a quick break, and then why the claw grip is being called a woman's new superpower? You want to find out what that means? Stay with us.
Tomorrow on The Social, the summer packing list you didn't know you needed. Beauty editor Bahar Niramwala shares the skincare essentials you'll want to take on vacation.
welcome back. Remember, you can have your say on everything that we're talking about on our socials. All right, so let's dive into our next one. Apparently, today's woman has a new superpower. And it's holding on to things. It's called the claw grip. And that's what it's being called online anyway. This TikToker challenged herself to carry 15 items in one hand. So Riley, this sounds like your generation stuff. It's weird. Have you mastered the claw grip?
I guess we're finding out. I guess so. I'd like to think that I could. I'm gonna put like I'm picking her strategy here. She
No,
has,
don't
like,
help her. No, she says she can do it. It's her superpower.
The thing is that I believe in the claw grip. I get it, but I also have very tiny
She
hands.
does.
You do have
I feel like Jess Allen would get this with me.
Yes, we've got tiny little paws.
Yeah, exactly. My wife does call it my paws.
Has this
Are we
always
doing the
been?
count? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh, yeah.
5, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That girl on the TikTok did 15 items.
Okay, let's do it.
Just saying.
In one hand? In one hand?
I think she
under
had-
the
I
arm.
think she
too.
might have also
She has
under
the
the
arm.
arm.
She's doing it.
Oh, that's a big one.
I feel like, well, you work
can go
on
into
it.
the arm, yeah.
Does anyone else do this with their recycling? Because my recycling's like outside the front door.
Yeah.
And so then right by the front door, like the recycling pile builds up.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I could do this as well. Bottles, toilet paper rolls, everything. Because I'm only making one trip.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow!
That's a lot.
Oh, we can have your, although I
Thank
see
you.
this last item here. We got one last item. Let's see if you can squeeze it in.
Yes, you can. Right in the thing.
Ooh,
right in the thing.
armpit.
No.
Yeah.
You know, when
it's more than 15.
When I first heard about this one, I'm like, why would you do this? This is why we have purses. This is why we walk around with these giant, I call them grips, like a giant grip to put everything else in. And I was thinking, suppose like, okay, see how you have everything in your arm right now? Okay, suppose you have to go to the bathroom or open a door. What happens?
You just put them all.
Well, I've got them in one hand.
Oh!
I've got the other hand. It's multifaceted. Do you know, I think of this whenever I think of my mother. I think of her holding like my brother in one arm, like taking my sister and going like this, bag over the shoulder. I do think that this is maybe a biological advancement that women have developed over the years.
I feel like I didn't notice myself doing it until I became a parent. I think there wasn't the need, and as soon as you have a kid, they start handing you stuff. And at every turn, it's like a rock and a piece of Lego and a whatever, and so you're carrying all that stuff on top of the groceries, on top of a purse. Like I will have a giant purse and still do this. So explain that mystery to me.
You
I
gotta
do
get a
not
bigger
know.
purse, girl.
I guess so.
You need a bigger
I
purse.
guess so.
I was thinking from the grocery store. That's the only time I will do it. I refuse to make 2 trips, especially because I live in a building. So that means I gotta get in the elevator and go back down. No chance.
Yeah,
so
you're not
I will
doing
load myself up like a Sherpa, and then I will.
Have it on all the fingers.
Right? I
Yeah.
refuse to do the 2 trips. The only time I will do it.
Yep.
All right, so we have developing news in the sexual assault trial of the 5 former World Junior Hockey players. The verdict is coming down, and we'll examine the judges' reasonings when we get back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Joining us now is lawyer Jillian Nachu, one of Canada's leading experts in gender-based violence with experience in sexual assault cases. So, Jillian, we're really glad to have you here, especially today with this verdict that we are waiting to hear what's going to happen. And we're still awaiting the final verdict in this very high-profile sexual assault trial of 5 former World Junior Hockey players. That's Cal Foote, Dylan Dubé, Alex Formenton, Carter Hart, and Michael McLeod all pled not guilty to a sexual assault alleged to have taken place at a London hotel back in June of 2018 after a Hockey Canada gala. So at the center of this case was the issue of consent. And in her remarks so far, the judge reasoned that she didn't find the complainant's evidence to be credible or reliable, and that the Crown failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. So we expect a verdict by now, but it's been 3.5 hours and the judge is still ruling. So is it normal for verdicts to take this long, Jillian?
Yeah.
It's normal for reasons to be this long because it's the judge's roadmap for how she reached her decision. She's already told us what the verdicts are going to be. There's going to be acquittals across the board. If she said that the Crown has just failed to discharge its onus, that's the only possible outcome.
Oh, wow.
I understand why the media is being so cautious, but that's the only place that this is leading at this point.
All right, and the judge found that, as you just mentioned, that EM's evidence was not credible or reliable. So what evidence was she considering here?
So she was really primarily considering the evidence and testimony of EM, which was given over, I believe, 9 days on the stand. There was some additional sort of peripheral evidence, but that was before the court. But as is almost always the case in sexual assault trials, at least criminal ones, the case rises and falls on the evidence of the complainant. Sometimes you hear that these are he said, she said matters. Here there were 5 he's, only one of them testified. And so there's no evidence from any of the other 4 for the judge to scrutinize.
Okay.
Let's talk about the issue of consent, because this case really hinged on that question of consent. And I don't think many people are aware necessarily of also the law, the way Canadian law looks at consent. And what do you think that this, maybe you can talk about that, and also what misconceptions about consent do you think this case has exposed?
So I went to high school in the 90s, and I'm quite sure that I had a T-shirt that read "No means no," and that was wrong. That was an inaccurate summary of Canadian law. It's actually that you have to get a yes. Only yes means yes.
And ongoing as well, right?
Yeah.
It's a Canadian law deems it. It's a you need.
It has to be contemporaneous, specific, and voluntary, and so it has to happen in the moment. So I think the first important point is that silence does not equal consent. Just because somebody doesn't say no doesn't mean that you've got a green light to continue until they give you the red light. It's actually the reverse. You have to make sure that there are a willing participant in each act. And so I know that one of the key pieces of evidence that got a lot of scrutiny during the trial was the consent video that was taken by the players after the fact. But it's after the fact, and to me as a lawyer, that didn't have a lot of evidentiary value because she's still in the room with all the same individuals. The power dynamics would still be the same. If you believe her that she felt coerced into participating into the acts, then it would stand to reason that she also felt coerced to make the video. And in any event, consent can't be retroactive. It has to be given in the moment.
Got it. Right. I guess this is another follow-up question to that about like, so then it means, I guess, also that yes, like just as a verbal word has weight, but not all the weight, that the context surrounding when you give the yes matters a great deal, right? Like that you can say yes, but when you're in a room with, say, 5 other people, like that can be, I guess, intimidating sort of conditions potentially. Like, is that what is maybe the gray area in this consent conversation?
Yeah, I think part of the gray area is that she said yes to the initial sexual encounter, and there's never been any dispute about that. What she says she didn't say yes to was the subsequent sexual encounters with either the different individuals or some of those other acts. And so it's not enough to say, well, she was there voluntarily, she had consensual sex with the first player, you know, case closed. There also has to be consent to every subsequent sexual encounter. And so I haven't yet had an opportunity to hear what the judge said about, for example, how she may have consented to the player, I think it was Calfoot, doing the splits over her face, or how she communicated consent to somebody slapping her on the butt. But those, she will have to have found consent in relation to each of those specific acts.
Jillian, as a lawyer who represents victims of sexual assault, what does this decision that we are expecting tell you about pursuing sexual assault cases within Canada's legal system?
I am not a fan of pursuing sexual assault cases through the criminal system because it is very much a blunt instrument. It is set up to weigh evidence in a particular way against particular constitutional standards. And so there's often a lot of chatter about how we make it better for survivors. It works the way it does because we don't want to risk incarcerating innocent people.
Right.
So there will always be that extremely high standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But these are complicated stories, particularly when there's, consensual activity that surrounds the assaults, and our criminal justice system isn't well suited to parse them out. So there are other avenues for which survivors can seek affirmation, justice, healing, and personally, having done this work for more than 2 decades, not a fan of using the criminal justice system. And I know that that's a controversial opinion, but it's one that I've arrived at over time. That doesn't mean that
It's
you
an
should...
informed opinion coming from you, right?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't come forward with your allegations. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek other avenues towards as I say, justice, accountability, compensation, all of these things. There is obviously the option of bringing a civil suit, which EM had already done.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are other sort of restorative pathways to accountability and justice that can be explored. So, I mean, primarily for me, sexual assault is really a crime of power. It's not a crime of passion. Yeah. You know, it's not about sex. It's about the ability to exploit power to take something from somebody else. And so when you look at seeking justice for survivors, it's, for me, about giving them agency and giving them back the power that the sexual assault stripped from them. And so there are options if you are looking for pathways forward to regain your own agency and power.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a question for you then, well, on that vein, is that to me, beyond any specifics of the case, like I haven't read the judge's, full transcript either.
Yep.
But I worry about, what this says for sexual assault survivors generally, who we know also so rarely report generally and bring it forward to the criminal process. Yep. We also know that false accusations in general are like basically negligible, like non-existent, and statistically speaking. And so I just wonder, what you think of the broader impacts of something like this in the Canadian media and the story that it's been, and like certainly something we'll be talking about for the foreseeable future. Yeah,
I always worry on days like today where there is acquittal in high-profile sexual assault cases that survivors will take that and internalize it as, I won't be believed, I have no options, there's no ability for me to come forward. And I really strongly want to say to survivors today that if you are contemplating disclosing to somebody and thinking about seeking accountability through other ways, there are still options for you. You should still seek out that support, and you can still be believed.
All right, so I know we have a lot of feelings about this. It's a very heavy topic, and we're still waiting for the verdict to come down. But I know you guys had something. Jess, I know you wanted to speak to what's happening with Hockey Canada, because you've had your own experiences, and if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, well, I think even though we don't know the verdict yet, we still have some facts. And correct me if I'm wrong. We know that 5 world junior hockey players, 4 of whom went on to play in the NHL, gathered around in a hotel room and engaged in sexual acts with a 20-year-old. And we know that in 2022, TSN exposed that Hockey Canada used this special fund to quietly settle sexual assault lawsuits over the year, including, as you said, this one with EM, who said she was actually assaulted by 8 players. And I guess, like, I don't mean this rhetorically, maybe I kind of do, but why would Hockey Canada need a special fund for this very thing? Reports have been coming out since TSN exposed this. People say it sort of blew the cauldron off the lid, and subsequently we learned that junior hockey players have been the subject of sexual assault investigations by police at least 15 times going back to 1989. And there's been so much research because of TSN's exposure, revealing that men's hockey has a problem with sexism, misogyny, homophobia, racism, and toxic masculinity on and off the ice. And there's also this history of an impulse to cover up any incidents, because that's sort of ingrained in the culture itself. And we've known this before TSN blew the lid off. And I think that's why you guys might remember, you were alluding to it, a little experience with saying essentially that I didn't like hockey. I'm paraphrasing because I didn't do it eloquently that day. But saying I didn't like hockey because of the culture around it, because of the bullying, because of the unthoughtfulness, because of incidents I'd seen growing up, personal experiences that I'd seen happen to other people, not to me, and feeling really, I almost said the S word, really bad that I didn't do more in that moment. And I think the reaction to what I said in 2019 kind of proved my point, because they reacted to what I was saying about the problem with the culture with the same problems. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, and I shouldn't say just to me, our entire team, like we have security in the parking lot because of that incident, because someone said they didn't like the culture of hockey. Like it's still, as you can see, it still makes me so angry.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to make this about me. I do feel very grateful that EM's name will never be out there.
Yeah.
Knowing what our team, and it wasn't just me, our entire team, you know, experiences this is close to a year, you know, and so I don't know if I have a nice way to bow tie it other than I think it's deeply entrenched. I feel very hopeless that this case will do anything to change the culture of that. And again, I'm annoyed that I have to say this, not all hockey players, not your kids, not the girls playing, not this and that. I'm not speaking about that. I feel I can say it with a little more authority now, because this has been studied for decades, not just after TSN blew the lid off. It's been studied for decades by academics, by newspapers doing reporting. I don't know what happens after this, but again, I'm glad EM's name is not in the public record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Jess. That was wonderful. Julian, we really appreciate you stopping by and giving your expertise on this very important and heavy case.
I'm so glad you got to say that.
And of course, Riley, we have to thank you for being here. Thank you so much also for being here and chiming in on this. All right, everybody, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Everyone, the Rococo aesthetic is having a renaissance. So today, we're stepping back into the 18th century with a party theme that's all about elegance, extravagance, and playful excess. Please welcome wedding and event planner, Kimmy Aria. So good to have you back.
I'm very excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
All right, you turned our studio into this beautiful palace. So before we get into all of that good stuff, talk to us, what is the Rococo aesthetic? Break it down, explain it to us.
So Rococo is an 18th century French art and design movement. It followed the very dark and serious Baroque era. So think pastels, ruffles, indulgence, luxury. So it is the perfect theme for a party.
Listen, it's right up my alley, all right? So how is it being revived in a modern day way?
It's certainly making a comeback thanks to shows like Bridgerton.
Love that
So
show.
we've got corsets, even I'm wearing a corset dress, pearls, lace, all the fun stuff.
All right, so let's get this fabulous party started. The first thing that's key to this theme is a costume. And you have a little dress-up station. I already see the dress that I have my eye on.
I know.
Talk to us about this.
We need to dress the part, of course. So we've got these gorgeous gowns from Fitzroy Rentals. It's the perfect way to channel your inner Marie Antoinette. And we have just selected so many textures and colors. It's perfect
yeah,
for
I
the
love
theme.
This one. And I understand we have a party guest that we should bring on out and see her outfit. Jess, can you come on over, my dear?
Wow. I can't. Will you accessorize me?
Of course I will, love. of course, of
You
course, of course.
cannot have the Rococo theme without adding a little bit of sparkle here from Blair Nadeau.
Oh my God.
These are all
Beautiful.
locally made.
The girls are out.
Tell us about these accessories.
You can't have a gown on without adding a little bit of sparkle. This really ties the whole look together. You look fab.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so next up we have to talk about this beautiful floral champagne wall. It's stunning.
But first, champagne, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So back in this time, champagne really signified royalty and luxury. So why not welcome your guests with a lovely accent wall and cheers, have some bubbly.
Okay.
Ooh, this sounds beautiful.
I'm gonna give you one as well, Jess. All right, so I understand that champagne towers are having a comeback as well. Kimmy, talk to us about that.
Absolutely. Champagne towers are making a comeback, especially within the wedding world. But I've added a little bit of a modern twist here. We've done a pink lemonade tower instead.
So
I love
pretty.
that.
Yeah.
And you have another idea about a way to welcome guests in with a drink.
Oh my gosh, yes. This is one of my favorites. It's an interactive champagne ring for champagne wall, actually.
That
Yeah, you get to
is
ring the
special.
bell. You can have some fun with cocktails, mocktails, and even some fun glassware.
I love, that's a great idea. All right, so this is fantastic. Let's move on to our next station, which is a stunning tablescape. Talk to us about this, Kimmy. This looks beautiful.
Well, as you can see, the palette is all about pastels. So we have dusty blues, blushes, lilac. It really ties the theme in together.
Can we talk about these flowers? These floral arrangements are so beautiful. We can smell them. But
smells
tell us more
incredible.
about them.
Lemon Truffle Designs did an incredible job. During the Rococo era, florals were very prominent in fabrics, furniture, fashion, art. So we brought those florals here on the tablescape today.
And they look gorgeous. All right, so let's talk about the beautiful table setting that you have here as well.
Yes, we brought in some ornate charger plates and some fun mismatched china. As much as mismatch sometimes doesn't work, it works perfectly for this theme. Once you put it all together on the table, it works cohesively. It's perfect.
Can we talk about the gilded accents? I feel like this fits the theme really
Oh
well.
yeah, you definitely need lots of gold. So we've got these ornate flatware pieces. We also have vintage brass candle holders. And there's also a little bit of gold in the floral vessels as well.
And what are some other tablescape suggestions?
Well, if you
Because this isn't enough.
I know, right? Honestly, with this
More is
theme, more is merrier, that's for sure. So we've got these absolutely stunning hand-painted champagne bottles. Yeah, and they're personalized, so it acts as a place card, it acts as a favor, and obviously you can sip on it through the evening.
Oh, that's such a brilliant idea. I love that. All right.
We also have actually these ornate stationery pieces from Paper Palette. Finished with
the little tassel.
tassels. How gorgeous.
I love that. All right, so let's head over to our next party area. What regal food will we be eating today, my dear?
All right, it is not necessary to have a 10-course sit-down meal. I personally think little bits and bites are perfect. So we've got these nibbles from Kitten and the Bear. We have some tea sandwiches, scones. It's finished off with some lemon ricotta, smoked salmon. It's just the perfect touch.
And scones, oh my God, I want to eat it all.
I know, me too. I'm holding myself back.
Hey, I feel like we have to mention the famous quote by Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake.
Let's come over to Shannon here from Cuento. She has put together the most stunning spread of intricate piped cakes over here. Cake was not just for us to indulge in, but it was really a piece of art.
These are stunning.
Everything looks delicious. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, so another fun activation that you suggest is having a live illustrator at your party.
Well, we did work really hard to get dressed up, right, Jess? So why not have Lauren here just put together a little illustration? Like, how stunning. She's fabulous.
Favor.
And it's a perfect favor for guests to take home.
Oh my God, what's my...
Where's Jess?
Sorry, what are
Jess,
the
I think
ideas?
you have one too.
Oh my God, may I see?
Look at how elegant you are, darling.
Do you have
So cute.
any other ideas for entertainers?
Well, you can't have a party without music. So bring in a cellist, a violinist, and have them maybe play some like top 40 or something.
That's a great idea. I love that. All right, Kimmy, thank you for showing us all of these great entertaining ideas. Now, after the break, tips on how to get into running. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. We all know that summer is the season to get outside and get moving. And our next guest suggests that if you haven't yet tried running, you should. He truly believes that anyone can become a runner.
All right, well, he's here with 7 key tips to get the beginner runner from the couch to the start line. Please welcome runner, author, and founder of I Run magazine, Ben Kaplan. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
I love your runner's tan. I can tell you run outside. But first, I want to start off with something very important. You have been running for 15 years now. You have 30 marathons under your belt, from Boston to Jerusalem, Portugal to Toronto, and you're planning your 31st marathon this fall in Chicago. So I'm curious, did you fall in love with running right away, or was this like a long-term, long-distance relationship that built up over time?
Well, I did fall in love with running right away, but it was at a moment in my life when I needed it. And so it was sort of like, this is when we were having our first kid, and I was like, you know, it probably would do me some justice to stay out of the bars a bit. And that's when I came to the running, and it felt like a sock in a shoe, comfortable.
Okay.
Loved it right away.
Oh, you did love it right away. Yeah. Okay, so I've dabbled in running, and I will say it's not a love affair right out of the way. I do get that you can get that kind of euphoria afterwards if you do it for a bit of time, but really, do you believe that anyone can become a runner?
Definitely, I believe that anyone can become a runner. I taught a running class, and from the couch to the marathon in 1 year.
Okay.
And I had a guy, my friend Peter, and he had bypass heart surgery.
Okay.
And in 1 year, we took him from the couch. He didn't do the marathon, but he did the half marathon. But he stuck with it through the winter, through the summer, and he did it, and he loved it. And anyone can do it if Peter can do it, though he has a huge heart.
All right, well, if Peter can do it, you're saying that to go from the couch to the start line is easy with these 7 tips that you have for us. The first one is get outside. Talk to us about that one.
Get outside. It's just cross the threshold. You know, you have to eliminate the stigma that just like, everybody's looking at me and I can't do this. Like, you just remove all of it. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody cares. You can do this. And what are we even doing? Just run to the stop sign. Just try anything. Go.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, you say that the beginner runner should set a goal. So what's a realistic goal?
Let's just say right now, anybody's watching this show, we're going to try do a 5K. So in 10 weeks, try a 5K. That's a realistic goal, and you can walk a little bit. You know, you can do whatever you can do with having a
the
goal.
reaction.
You can do this, ma'am. The idea, just once you have a goal and you know it's in 10 weeks, then you know halfway through you want to go 2K. So at the beginning, you know, you walk a little bit, you run a bit, walk a little bit, run a bit, and then you just gradually build over time.
You make it sound so easy. Listen, I run several 10Ks, but in my heart, I really want to run a marathon, but I'm a little bit nervous. So what advice do you have for a first-time marathoner?
Okay, for sure, and I don't mean to make it sound easy. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, and I don't mean to belittle the work that goes into it. It's not easy.
Okay.
But I'm just saying you have to make it fun. And so, for instance, if you want to go from 10K to the marathon, what you need to do is do a half marathon in the middle. So let's just say you want to do it next year, okay, next fall. So then in 6 months, go for a half, and then do another 10K in 3 months. You just want to build these things gradually up over time.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay, so let's say we've run to the mailbox and back, if people still have those. We've set a goal. You're saying now it's time to gear up. This is my favorite part of this conversation, to be honest. So let's take us through this step.
Okay, yeah. So the first of all is you notice the material on these clothes are wicking stuff. So you're not going to wear cotton. You're not going to wear a big hooded sweatshirt. You're going to want to wear special fabric that helps wick, helps the sweat fleece away. Then the other thing is when you gear up, you're gonna wanna go to a running shop and get stuff that excites you. Like I like to wear fluorescent stuff. I like to feel like, wow, this is my go time, like electric, you know? I mean, and that's legitimate. Like buy something that you wanna wear that will make you get outside and use it. That makes you feel good.
Yeah, that's a great tip. All right, so let's talk about choosing the right pair of shoes, because that's super important.
Super important. But again, the same thing. Look, in this stage, in 2025, any one of these shoe brands make great shoes. None of us are going to win the gold in the Olympics. So it's like you can walk into a shoe store and pretty much pick any brand and realize like this is a quality product. You know? So you want to get something that, like, you know, each shoe, Asics has a lot of different varieties. Sometimes the New Balances tend to run wide. You know, Nike's known for having great technology. Adidas is also making a lot of new stuff now, and they're sort of moving ahead a little bit. But any of the brands will be good. The thing is, go to a shoe store and try the stuff on. And remember that your foot will swell when you run, even as much as a half size. So you don't want to get something too snug. Your snug stuff will be your shirt and your shorts, but your shoes keep a little space.
That's what I always do. I always go a half size up, because when you're running that toe, you don't realize how much that toe is jamming against the front of your shoe. All right, so we've talked about moisture wicking. We have the right shoes. Let's talk about form.
Okay, your form. Good. Basically, and don't get hung up on any of these things. How you run, when the bus is leaving and you got to get it, how you move is the way you're naturally equipped to move. So don't overstress. But in general, some tips. Keep your head up. Lean slightly forward, arms close to your side. You don't want to waste herky-jerky moments.
Look at you running in slow motion. Look at you.
Mortifying, mortifying.
Okay, so you're not like you want to make sure you're not pitching forward necessarily. Or
well, you do want to lean forward.
You do? Oh, you do?
You do. You're leaning. You don't want to be back. You know, you're forward. You're moving good.
Okay, you are moving forward.
And you're on and you're sort of, you know what I like to think when I'm running well? I'm kind of on a swivel like this, that you could throw me a football when I'm running and I can catch it. Like you're loose, you know,
okay,
and
I like
fluid.
This. I like
you're
it.
fluid.
Okay, now you want to form a training plan. So how do you do that and how do you stick to it?
Well, okay, again, the best thing is by signing up for a race, that will keep you to stick to it, because you know, like, ooh, I don't want to show up. You're going to do your marathon in 6 months, and it's like, I better train to do that.
Oh, yeah, it's happening in 6 months for sure, Ben. Yeah. Of course.
So the way you stick to it, too, is also you can engage your community. You know, you get friends involved. You can keep a little running logbook and write down the things that you do. You can put your shoes out the night before you're running.
Yeah. All right, so another very important thing for beginners is to run safe. What do you mean by that?
Well, running safe is the most important thing, which just means be wise. If the light is about to turn red, don't go out into traffic. Run with a group at night. Put a light on your head at night. And hydrate. You know, you're going to hydrate. You're going to drink electrolytes. You're going to stay fluid. You're going to give yourself a chance to succeed. And there's some dynamic stretching both before and after you run.
Okay, so we only have a few seconds left. So just some tips to stick with it, for like runners to stick with it.
Okay, a great tip to stick with it is get a crew involved. You're not going to do your marathon by yourself. You know a million people. Get someone to do it with you and make it fun. And don't do it, maybe don't do it in Toronto. Maybe go do it in
somewhere tropical.
Paris.
Yes. I like that idea. Hey, Cyn, do you want to run a marathon?
All right, I'll do it somewhere exotic.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, Ben, thank you so much for stopping by and giving us this very important information. For anyone interested in tackling their first 5K this fall, we'll be posting Ben's full training. So plan to head to our socials, so keep an eye out. We'll be right back right after this. Next time on The Social, beauty expert Bahar Naranwala shares her list of skincare travel essentials. Lots of people going on vacation, so you want to tune in for that one. Plus, experts are urging people to take care of their eyes as wildfires burn across Canada. And we find out what symptoms to look out for and ways that we can protect ourselves. We had a jam-packed
show.
I think we deserve some cake, maybe?
Yeah, we deserve the whole cake. I'm holding myself back from eating that like straight off the plate.
These are so beautiful. Are they real?
Yeah, of course. You know what? It's real. Yeah, everybody. That's real. All right, remember, you can find us on Crave or YouTube or listen to our podcast on the iHeartRadio app. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.